Have you ever felt like your life has been paused while the rest of the world keeps moving forward? Like everyone else is stepping into their breakthrough while you remain stuck in the same place, praying the same prayers, hoping for the same change, and wondering if heaven has even heard you. If that feeling has been sitting quietly in your heart, then this message is meant for you. Sometimes life places us in a season that feels slow, silent, and uncertain. It becomes a time where progress seems invisible and answers seem delayed. In those moments, doubt begins to whisper that nothing is happening. But the truth is that the waiting season is never empty. Waiting is one of the hardest spiritual disciplines a person can experience, because it challenges our patience, our faith, and our understanding of time itself. We live in a world that celebrates speed, instant results, and immediate rewards. So when something takes longer than expected, we naturally assume something must be wrong. Yet the deeper truth is that delay does not mean denial. Very often, it means preparation. The quiet season you are in right now may feel uncomfortable, but it may also be the exact environment where transformation is quietly unfolding. God's work is rarely loud at the beginning. Seeds grow beneath the soil long before anyone sees the first green leaf appear. In the same way, your life may look unchanged on the outside, but something meaningful is forming within you. Strength is developing, wisdom is growing, character is being refined. The waiting season may feel long, but it is shaping the person who will eventually step into the next chapter of your life. When people look at successful moments, they usually see only the visible victory, not the hidden years of preparation that came before it. They see the arrival, but they rarely see the waiting room. Yet the waiting room is where the most important development takes place. It is where patience is built and faith becomes real. During these quiet stretches of life, you may begin asking questions that echo through your mind late at night. Why is this taking so long? Did I make a wrong decision? Did I miss my chance? Is my moment ever going to come? These questions are natural because waiting stretches the human heart. But the remarkable thing about waiting is that it often becomes the place where clarity is born. When life slows down, we begin to notice things we once ignored. We become more aware of our purpose, our priorities, and our inner strength. The waiting season is not simply about standing still. It is about becoming ready. There is a difference between wanting something and being prepared to handle it. Sometimes the opportunity is already on its way, but the person who will carry it must first grow into the responsibility it brings. Think about how many great stories begin with a long period of uncertainty. The hero rarely starts the journey already equipped with everything needed. Instead, the early chapters often feel slow, confusing, and even discouraging. But those chapters are essential because they build the courage and wisdom that will later define the victory. In the same way, the season you are living through right now may be building something inside you that you cannot yet fully see. You may feel like nothing is changing, but change is often happening in quiet ways. Every moment of patience is strengthening your endurance. Every unanswered prayer is deepening your trust. Every day you continue moving forward, even when you feel tired, is shaping a resilience that will carry you farther than you imagined. Life has a way of testing the depth of our faith before revealing the next door. It is easy to believe when everything is moving quickly, but real faith is discovered when progress seems slow. In those moments, we are faced with a choice. We can either assume the waiting means the story is over, or we can trust that something meaningful is still unfolding behind the scenes. Many people give up during the quiet chapters because they believe nothing is happening. But often the truth is that the most important part of the story is being written right there, in the silence, in the patience, in the unseen preparation. And while the world may measure progress by speed, divine timing measures progress by readiness. The timing is never random, and it is never careless. It is precise, purposeful, and deeply intentional. Even when you cannot see the full picture, every moment is moving you towards something greater. So if you feel like you have been standing in a long season of waiting, understand this: the wait is not wasted. It is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what is coming next. And sometimes the greatest breakthroughs arrive just after the moment when people almost give up hope, because that is the moment when patience has done its deepest work. There comes a moment in every long season of waiting when the silence begins to feel heavier than the struggle itself. At first, people enter the waiting season with hope, believing that answers will arrive soon and that the delay will only last a short time. But as the days stretch into months and sometimes even years, the quiet space between prayer and fulfillment can begin to feel overwhelming. The human heart is not naturally comfortable with uncertainty. We like clarity, direction, and visible progress. When those things seem absent, the mind starts creating its own explanations. Some begin to believe they were forgotten. Others start to wonder if they misunderstood their purpose. The waiting room of life has a way of testing every layer of life a person carries inside, yet this is exactly where the deeper meaning of waiting begins to reveal itself. Waiting is not simply about the passing of time. It is about the shaping of trust. In the middle of uncertainty, the soul is quietly being taught how to stand firm even when the path ahead is unclear. This process is not easy, and it is rarely comfortable, but it is powerful. The greatest transformations in life often happen in the moments when people feel the most uncertain about what comes next. What makes the waiting season difficult is that nothing around you seems to confirm that progress is happening. From the outside, it may look like life is standing still. Opportunities appear to pass by. Doors seem closed, and the future remains hidden behind the curtain of mystery. But beneath that silence, something extraordinary is happening. Host-like roots grow deeper underground before a tree rises taller above the surface. Your inner strength is expanding in ways that cannot yet be measured. Every day you remain patient is strengthening your endurance. Every moment you resist the urge to quit is building a resilience that will support your future success. The waiting season is quietly preparing you to carry the weight of the blessing that is coming. Many people desire the reward, but few are willing to endure the preparation that makes the reward sustainable. Without preparation, sudden success can overwhelm a person. Character must grow strong enough to support the opportunity that will eventually arrive. That is why divine timing often stretches longer than human expectations. It is not because nothing is happening, but because something meaningful is still being built within you. In the middle of this process, there may come a moment when your faith feels like it is standing alone in the dark. You may look around and see others moving forward while your situation, Ation, remains unchanged. It may seem as if the world has forgotten your story entirely. That is the point where the waiting season reaches its deepest test. The real question becomes whether you will continue believing even when visible evidence is absent. Faith becomes real when it stands without proof. Patience becomes powerful when it survives discouragement. During these quiet chapters, the greatest temptation is to walk away just before the breakthrough arrives. Many people abandon their journey because they mistake silence for rejection. But silence does not mean abandonment. Sometimes silence means preparation is still underway. There are moments in life when everything appears calm on the surface, while an invisible shift is taking place behind the scenes. Plans are aligning. Circumstances are being arranged. Doors that once seemed permanently closed are slowly moving toward the moment when they will open. Yet the person waiting cannot see any of this happening in real time. All they can see is the present moment, and the present moment often feels unchanged. This is where the tension of the waiting season becomes most intense. You continue hoping while uncertainty whispers that nothing is moving. You keep believing while doubt tries to convince you that the story has already ended. But what if the silence you are experiencing right now is not the end of your journey, but the final stage before everything changes? What if the delay you have been struggling through is actually the last stretch of preparation before the door opens? History is filled with moments where breakthroughs appeared suddenly after long periods of stillness. To the outside observer, it looked like success arrived overnight. But the truth is that years of unseen development had been taking place before that moment ever appeared. The same principle applies to your life. What looks like delay might actually be the final layer of preparation that ensures you are ready when the opportunity arrives. Every challenge you have endured has strengthened your perspective. Every moment of patience has refined your character. Every quiet day has been shaping the resilience that will allow you to handle what comes next with wisdom and strength. The waiting season may feel endless when you are standing inside it, but seasons eventually change. Even the longest night eventually gives way to the first light of morning. And sometimes the most surprising breakthroughs arrive at the moment when people least expect them. The silence begins to break. The path begins to appear. The thing that once seemed distant suddenly moves closer than you ever imagined. And when that moment arrives, you will realize that the waiting was never meant to defeat you. It was meant to prepare you for the chapter that is about to begin. As the waiting season begins to draw toward its turning point, something subtle yet powerful starts to shift inside a person. It does not always arrive with loud announcements or dramatic signs. Instead, it often begins quietly, almost like the first light of dawn slowly appearing after a long night. For a long time, you may have wondered if the season you were in would ever end. You prayed, hoped, worked, and remained patient while the days seemed to move slowly. Yet during that entire period, something important was happening beneath the surface of your life. The waiting was shaping your perspective, strengthening your endurance, and refining your character in ways that could never have happened in comfort. When people experience long seasons of delay, they often believe those moments were wasted. They look back and think about the time they wish they could reclaim. But when the breakthrough finally arrives, many begin to understand that the waiting was not empty. It was preparation. It was the training ground where patience grew strong enough to carry responsibility. It was the quiet classroom where wisdom developed without distraction. Every unanswered prayer taught perseverance. Every uncertain day built deeper trust. The truth about growth is that it rarely happens in moments of ease. Growth usually happens in moments when life feels slow, uncertain, and even discouraging. Yet those moments create the foundation that allows a person to handle greater opportunities later in life. When the next chapter finally opens, the person who once struggled with waiting begins to recognize how necessary the process truly was. The character that developed during the quiet season becomes the strength that supports the new season. Suddenly, the patience that once felt painful becomes the very quality that keeps success steady and meaningful. The waiting season may have tested you, but it also prepared you to walk forward with maturity and clarity. Many people wish for sudden change, without realizing that lasting change requires deep preparation. When the door finally opens, the person stepping through it must be ready not only to receive the blessing, but also to manage it wisely. That readiness is exactly what the waiting season creates. It builds the discipline to stay focused, the humility to remain grateful, and the resilience to keep moving forward even when new challenges appear. And the truth is that every meaningful journey includes moments of uncertainty before the breakthrough. The story is never finished during the quiet chapters, even though it may feel that way at the time. There are always unseen details coming together beyond the limits of human vision. Circumstances are aligning in ways that cannot yet be recognized. Paths are forming that will only become visible when the moment is right. That is why patience becomes such an important part of the process. Patience is not passive, it is active trust in motion. It is the decision to keep believing that something meaningful is unfolding, even when the evidence has not yet appeared. And eventually the moment arrives when the season begins to change. What once felt distant starts moving closer. What once felt impossible begins to look achievable. Opportunities appear where there were once only obstacles. The same person who once questioned whether their time would ever come suddenly realizes that the waiting season was guiding them toward the exact moment they needed. When that realization happens, the perspective shifts completely. Instead of seeing the waiting as a delay, it becomes clear that it was divine timing protecting the journey from happening too early. Timing matters because purpose requires the right moment as well as the right preparation. When both finally meet, the result becomes something powerful and lasting. The doors that open in that moment are not temporary or fragile. They are strong enough to support the life you have been preparing to live. And when you step forward into that new chapter, you carry with you every lesson learned during the quiet years. The patience, the endurance, the faith and the wisdom become part of who you are. They guide your decisions and remind you how far you have come. Looking back, you begin to understand that the waiting season was never meant to break your spirit. It was meant to build your strength. It was meant to shape the person who would eventually walk into the future that had been forming all along. So if you are listening to this message and you feel like you have been standing in a long season of waiting, remember this truth. Your waiting season is not permanent. The story is still unfolding, and the next chapter may be closer than you realize. The silence that once felt heavy, Abe, may soon become the moment where everything begins to shift. What seemed delayed may soon reveal itself as perfectly timed. The preparation you have endured is not being wasted. It is positioning you for something greater than you could have imagined when the journey first began. Keep your faith steady, keep your patience strong, and keep moving forward with hope in your heart. The waiting season is shaping the victory that is on its way. And when the moment finally arrives, you will understand that every step of the journey had a purpose. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notifications so you can see our new videos early.